In this section, the focus is understanding and identifying who are the people who are going to implement your innovation. You might ask, what is a strategic fit? Is the organisation ready to support your idea? Are there any competing priorities? To help you do this, you will have a detailed understanding of how to use two models, the stakeholder analysis and the driver diagram. A stakeholder is described as any individual, group or organisation with an interest in your project. They may or may not be needed in the decision-making process. The stakeholder analysis is simply a method of systematically collecting and analysing information about people whose interests should be taken into account. It should be one of the first steps you take in any project. It can be used to identify the people who need to be involved, and it offers a structure for you to do this. Firstly, you need to identify your stakeholders. You might think about all the people who can influence the success or failure of your idea, and people who have an interest in its successful or unsuccessful conclusion. Stakeholders can be internal, for example, managers, employees, directors, or external, like customers, service users, patient groups, or suppliers. The second step is to prioritise your stakeholders. To do this, we can use an interest and influence grid. This helps to classify the level of interest your different stakeholders have in the project. For example, your manager is likely to have high influence and high interest in your idea, whereas your family might have high interest, but they're unlikely to have any influence over your idea. Someone's position on the grid shows you the actions you have to take with them. High influence, high interest stakeholders are your key partners. They should be fully engaged and perhaps even recruited onto the project team. Depending on your idea, your project team should include representatives from each discipline. For example, you might have someone from IMT or a nurse. If there are individuals with high influence but less interest, then they are the people you need to keep informed and satisfied. They are powerful enough to cause problems. For example, if they adopt your idea, what or who will be affected? What is a potential knock-on effect on other services? These are the people you must keep informed and consulted. However, if your idea is to adopt an innovation on one ward, then spread it across all wards, then the clinical and non-clinical managers of all those wards need to be kept informed and consulted. Stakeholders with low influence and high interest can be useful supporters. 9 times out of 10, they are service users and their carers. The process of how to do this can be found in Section 5, entitled Co-Production. The third stage involves gaining greater understanding of your stakeholders. This stage is knowing more about your stakeholders, and the best way to find this information out is to talk to them directly. Clear questioning can help you understand information. These could be, what interests do they have in the outcome of your work? Is it positive or negative? How are they likely to feel about and react to your project? What is the best way to engage and communicate with them? What motivates them? What information do they want from you, and how do they wish to receive it? What would encourage them to support your project? Information gained from your questioning can be added to a stakeholder register. Here, you can record your assessment of each stakeholder. Things to include might be the stakeholders' communication preferences, their expectations, their influence on the project's outcome, and their level of interest and influence. The stakeholder register must be updated when any new stakeholder is identified or changes observed. This document may contain some sensitive information. Therefore, it needs to be securely stored in line with your organisation's information governance policy. This information will allow you to begin to create an action plan that will help you maintain stakeholder commitment. The aim of a driver diagram is to set your overall goal and break it down into smaller objectives that will help you reach that goal. The diagram helps you identify the smaller changes you can make and how you might measure success and maintain progress of your project. The first step is to define your goal. Any goal should be clearly defined, be measurable, and act as a focal point for change. It should describe what you intend to achieve and when. Here is an example. The goal is to lose 2 stones in 12 months. The next step is to identify which of the factors are the primary drivers. These are the areas that need to be addressed to allow you to achieve your goal successfully. The primary drivers should be written as straightforward statements. Ideally, there should be no more than 3 primary drivers. In our example, we've identified 2. The first is to reduce the number of calories consumed, and the second is to increase the number of calories burned. The next step is to determine whether the primary drivers can be broken down further. We could look at what factors can reduce the number of calories. For example, the secondary driver can be diet, and to reduce the number of calories burned, the secondary driver can be exercise. Once all the drivers have been identified, you could use these to help define the projects or the small changes you can take to achieve these. Change ideas might be that we exercise 3 days a week, or walk to work every day, or get more hours sleep. These change ideas would somehow help achieve your secondary driver. Your change factor for diet might be prepare meals from scratch or drink 2 litres of water each day. It is important to remember that a driver diagram is an iterative process. It isn't set in stone. Not all the changes and interventions you identify will have a positive impact, and so it is likely that your driver diagram will change over time and over the course of your project.